This is going to be the most clickbaity thing I've ever done. Um, so today is day 3 of our monthly fast in February. I'm really excited, really happy about how many people are actually a part of this process, seeing how many people are engaging in this super necessary cultural component is even almost overwhelming. It's really amazing. I'm really proud of everybody, and this fast for me was not that hard. I did have a headache, a little bit of a headache throughout. I don't know why. I've been drinking a lot of water, but anyways, it's just what happens sometimes, I guess. But anyways, what better activity? My favorite activity to do during a fast is to think about all the most horrendous foods you could possibly imagine. It's a really good way to keep you on track. Today, I wanted to share with you a really aggressive, really horrible atrocity that we call scone or Bannock. Well, scone or Bannock, as we know today, it's one of the worst things that ever happened to our health, maybe even our culture. It's a Trojan horse. It became a part of our culture. Scone has effectively destroyed our ability to achieve the life of our ancestors, a good life, or even bimaadiziwin itself. If we continue to take part in this horrendous traditional food, there will be no way we could achieve health or ever heal. So scone or Bannock is made up completely of processed foods, sugar, flour, vegetable oil, and salt. By definition, processed foods like scone have no vitamins or minerals, have a toxicity profile you would not believe. It's one of the most horrible things. This tradition needs to stop. It needs to be destroyed as soon as possible by any means necessary. Here's why. Let's start by looking at the flour. So I want to talk about the real demon of scone, and it's not the flour, but let's talk about the flour anyway. Even though it's not the biggest issue here, Bannock has its origins in a really amazing food that we would pronounce Bannock. Bannock and Bannock should sound similar. It should, because it's the same thing. Bannock is our type of bread, right? So bagan is a nut. Plural for nut would be Bannock, is a bunch of nuts. And so that's what we used to make our bread with. Bannock or scone is actually supposed to be a nut bread, not wheat flour, a nut bread. If I go to my nearest health food store and buy the most expensive healthy bread, super bread thing that's there, it's going to be a keto bread. And it's made up of nuts. It's a nut bread. And I'm not saying that keto bread is the key to life, because it's not. The nuts that were used to make Bannock are put through an intense detoxification process called leaching to remove the bitter tannins, but also reduce the anti-nutrient called phytates. That's anti, like ANTI, not ANTIE, anti. But anyways, modern day wheat flour Bannock, it's hard to say that wheat is the real problem, because if we look at the macronutrients, Bannock is super high carb. Everyone knows how much I hate carbs, but that's not the issue. To explain this, I want to use data from Japan, because it reflects what my grandmother says and what my grandmother remembers. A community that has long life expectancy, low risk for age-related chronic disease, often living over 100. So Okinawa in Japan, it's kind of like the textbook place for old healthy people. They have like 2,500 centenarians there right now. People living over 100 right now. Anyways, from 1958 to 1999, carb consumption went down from 84% to 62%. Fat consumption went up from 5% to 20%. They lowered their carbs and raised their fats. Their obesity, metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease all went up, and their life expectancy went down, even though they lowered their carbs and raised their fats. Everyone knows I'm a huge proponent of low carb to carnivore as the most culturally appropriate way of eating, tout its positive metabolic effects anywhere and everywhere that I possibly can. To understand the situation in Okinawa and ourselves, the situation that we're dealing with right now, we need to look at what type of fat increased, because it wasn't saturated fat, it wasn't animal fat, it was plant fat, it was vegetable oil. So this oil is brand new. It's only been in existence since the 1900s. It's completely new to our species, and it's an ultra processed food. And this is the real horrendous thing that I really wish everybody would stop immediately, throw it all out of your house. The carb content of Scone sucks, but I'm here to tell you that it's the vegetable oils that we really have to drop. Did we cook Bannock in fats? No. For the most part, it was baked. It was a baked, dry, crusty loaf of bread. Even if we did, like, I can't even imagine a little Nishnaba sitting in his wigwam deep frying nut bread. It's the most ridiculous picture I could ever imagine. It was baked. But even if we did fry it, what type of fat would we use? Lard or tallow? Yeah, that would be the only fat that would be available to us, to our great grandparents, like 150 years ago. Those are like great grandma days. Oh man, it's just such a new and recent change. So using fat, using lard, or using tallow, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's the change to vegetable oil that has really caused all of these absolutely horrendous problems. So what do I mean when I say vegetable oil? What is vegetable oil? Vegetable oil is corn, soy, canola, rapeseed, grapeseed, cotton, safflower, sunflower, safflower, peanut, rice bran, sesame, margarine. Go read your margarine, go read your mayo, go read your salad dressing. They're going to be full of these oils, and throw them in the garbage. Because here's why the vegetable oil is so bad. It's super simple, and it's really nasty. So I want to talk to you for a second about the powwow body. You know, the powwow body, it's like a turtle, or like, you know, the big round belly with little arms and little legs. I want us to really understand where that powwow body comes from. How do we get it? And more importantly, how do we get rid of it? You get rid of it by throwing out all these stupid vegetable oils, by the way. Anyways, vegetable oils are omega-6 oils, omega-6 fatty acids. The main one is linoleic acid. Linoleic acid is the root of all evil and is destroying our people and the planet, and it needs to stop. So linoleic acid, vegetable oil, makes your body get super fat super fast. Everyone has a personal fat threshold. I think Nishnaba have a lower personal fat threshold than what would be considered normal. Cedar helps with that a little bit. But anyways, the point here is that everyone has a personal fat threshold. Vegetable oils lower your personal fat threshold and allow you to get there faster. They hold the door open at the fat cell, at the adipocyte, creating inappropriate insulin sensitivity. Insulin equals growth, right? So these fat cells are able to take on more and more and more fat. The fat cell is able to grow. They get bigger. They become massive. And arguably, the biggest issue when it comes to obesity is not losing weight. It's not losing fat. It's shrinking the actual fat cell. So vegetables grow the fat cell. This is one of the most horrible things that you could ever imagine. Also, vegetable oils, it makes your body unable to burn sugar. Your muscles burn 80% of the sugar you eat. They are by far the most effective tool that you have to be able to control your blood sugar. With vegetable oils, this is gone. You don't have it anymore. Now you need insulin. Insulin tells your body to store more fat. And you're stuck in the cycle between insulin and fat. So what happens is vegetable oils cause free fatty acids to spew out, affecting the muscles, causing them to become insulin resistant. When your muscles become insulin resistant, they cannot use sugar for energy. And what's really neat to remember and understand is that this is a really important evolutionary process that we have, that give us the ability to fast, to spare glucose for the obligatory organs in your body. We need to, muscles are not allowed to use sugar in a fasted state. only your heart, kidneys, brain, red blood cells, the necessary or glucose dependent organs and systems. Yeah, so eating vegetable oils causes your muscles to become insulin resistant, just like as if you were fasting, but you're not fasting. You're at a powwow. You're eating tacos all day and blanket dogs and and Pepsi, and so this is just a horrible metabolic nightmare. Elevated levels of free fatty acids in your blood cause NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease causes metabolic dysfunction. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease also causes cirrhosis of the liver that eventually leads to liver failure, which is a metabolic catastrophe, absolute nightmare. So, because of vegetable oils, mainly. So vegetable oils also, like, one of the worst things that I think is that they destroy your satiety. They put your body in a state where it's no longer able to be full anymore, by throwing leptin and adiponectin levels through the floor. You're not able to become full, so you end up overeating. So you have all of this fat storage. Your body is this fat building, fat cell growing machine, and now you're left in a state where you cannot be satiated. You cannot become full. This compounded with the fact that vegetable oils like linoleic acid and linoleic acid, as it oxidizes the components that it becomes, which is the real problem, not linoleic acid itself, but the components that it breaks down into. Anyways, those components stimulate your endocannabinoid system the exact same way as cannabis. So basically, and stimulate your appetite in the same way that cannabis would. So you get the munchies. So you're cruising around the powwow, eating tacos and blanket dogs and Pepsi all day, lemonade with 3/4 cups of sugar inside of it. You ever see them make that? Oh, it's horrible. And you have the munchies. You basically cruising around the powwow with munchies all day because of the amount of vegetable oils that you're consuming. It's just that, combined with the inability to become satiated, with your body, this fat building machine that is unable to burn glucose. Oh man, horrible. So think of the powwow body. That's where it comes from. It comes from all of these things. One of the real problems, though, that I really wanted to talk to you about is that the linoleic acid, as it oxidizes, becomes those dangerous components. You have an autophagosome, one of the most famous autophagosomes called P53, is responsible for controlling cancer. All of us are creating cancer cells all the time that are destined to be consumed, eaten by these autophagosomes. P53 controls over 50% of cancers, and all of the most common cancers are in there: breast cancer, colon cancer, rectal cancer, pancreatic cancer. All of those cancers are melanoma cancer is in there. Basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, those are all consumed by this P53 autophagosome. Vegetable oils completely turn off your body's ability to create these autophagosomes, so at least 50% of the most dangerous cancers go unchecked. The quickest way to actually, in a rat, this is not human, but in a rat, the quickest way to induce diabetes, obesity, and cancer, to allow cancer to grow, to be able to test different chemotherapies to see if they work, is by feeding them large amounts of polyunsaturated fatty acids, vegetable oils. So what happens is that as well, the cardiovascular disease risk is when linoleic acid, some of the breakdown components of linoleic acid trigger macrophages to take up LDL by stimulating something called CD53 or CD36. This is the beginning of atherosclerosis, or basically every cardiovascular disease, every nasty cardiovascular disease. And so this is directly as a result of linoleic acid consumption. And again, to stimulate this, to simulate this process in rats as fast as possible, guess what they feed them? Vegetable oil. So there's so many reasons why we shouldn't be eating it. Just a couple more. One is like sunburns. There's a direct correlative and causative link and connection between the polyunsaturated fatty acid consumption and your ability to get a sunburn. And the more sunburns that you have, the more susceptible you are to skin cancers. And so directly as a result of vegetable oil consumption, it's just absolutely one of the most horrible things. Regarding the situation that we're in now, SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes the situation that we're in now, in the way that it kills you is through this process called ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, or symptom. This is what ends up killing you. And you guys probably already know what I'm going to say by now, is that you could actually induce ARDS with vegetable oil. You can induce acute respiratory distress syndrome, what kills us regarding the pandemic, what kills us, you can induce this by eating vegetable oil. This comes from a lot of really amazing research done in hospital, where the physicians, doctors were pumping patients full of soybean oil, and as a part of their recovery, and they were not recovering, and in fact some of them would die from ARDS, and they finally found out that it was because of the soybean oil, it was because of the vegetable oils that they were using to sort of refeed these patients, that was the causing ARDS and killing them. And so now only in really extreme situations are doctors allowed to use polyunsaturated fatty acids in a refeeding regimen. Anyways, so that's a really nasty thing. So if you want to reduce your risk or the severity of your illness, then this is absolutely something to consider. Lowering your linoleic acid consumption, lowering your vegetable oil consumption. Just take it all and throw it out, throw it in the trash. Don't feel bad, just put it in the garbage and forget about it and never buy it again. And read every label. All of those oils: corn, soy, canola, cottonseed, rapeseed, grapeseed, sunflower, safflower, rice bran, peanut, sesame, margarine, mayo, salad dressing, all of these different, just throw them out and replace them with appropriate fats, saturated fats, animal fats. And this is a really serious issue. This is, and I'm really excited to see where this video goes, but this is such a serious issue. Share it, not just with your friends and family, share it with your leadership. This is something that I think should be taken very seriously. It's been a part of my research for a few years now, and finally able and happy to be able to deliver it in this type of format. But this really needs to be understood and not taken lightly. It needs to be but yeah, anyways, really happy to be able to share some of these things with you, to give you the ability to live the life of our ancestors. You know, one last point too, like one of my favorite points is like in literature, if you go low carb, high fat, like you do a ketogenic type of thing, this works very well. But you could also go low fat and high carb. This works super well. The key to understanding why both of those work is not because of genetic variation. It's not because of difference. It's not because of even energy expenditure in the individual, or caloric expenditure in the individual. It's because of linoleic acid. It's because sometimes keto doesn't work because you're just having a bunch of plant oils and you're causing all of these crazy problems. And also, if you go low fat and high carb, the chances of you reducing your seed oil consumption is dramatically lowered. And so even with a high carbohydrate diet, you're still able to lose weight. You're still able to control diabetes. The key to understanding all of this is seed oil consumption. This needs to stop immediately. It's something that we've never had and that we should never engage with. So thank you for listening to my February fast rant. It's good to keep me busy. Anyways, we'll see you guys later. Bum on peace.